mired in mystery, whose mist obscured our view. Mythology told everyone what we should say and do. Then Darwin's parents made him diploid back in 1808. And when their sun began to shine, the darkness would abate. It was Charlie Darwin who gave sight to our eyes, who showed with Alfred Wallace how species did arise. It was Charlie Darwin who showed there was no plan, just mutation and selection in the descent of man.
Hola, amigos. I'm Greel Watz, the Mike Huckabee Professor of Intelligent Design at Southwest Alabama Community College, Extension. Now, down here in the Galapagos Islands, I'm not just another tourista. I'm on a mission to debunk Darwin's fraudulent theory of evolution. Even before this voyage, I wrote the Amazon bestseller containing my findings. Darwinism is Satanism. Got a nice blurb from Sarah Palin, too. Now, before I prove to you that God created Adam and Eve and everything, you deserve a little background.
Smack on the equator, 600 miles west of Ecuador, the Galapagos are volcanic islands like Hawaii's, new ones constantly formed by a Pacific Ocean hotspot. There are 18 major islands, 3 smaller ones, plus islets. Uninhabited before a Spanish bishop blown off course discovered them in 1535, the islands got Spanish names but also English names, thanks to British explorers and the pirates who plundered galleons bearing South American gold and silver to Spain. Newly independent Ecuador in 1832, under First President Juan José Flores, claimed the Galapagos as a province. New England harpooners came to what they called the Enchanted Isles for the plentiful sperm whales. Herman Melville visited too, writing The Encantadas in 1854. What really put the remote archipelago on the map was the 1835 visit of Captain Robert Fitzroy's survey ship HMS Beagle, with 26-year-old naturalist Charles Darwin on board. Unfortunately for the Word of God, old Charlie was intrigued by a species of finches and mockingbirds that varied in beaks between islands of differing climates separated by just a few miles. In 1859, he published The Origin of Species. Theologians protested Darwin's heresy, while the Galapagos remained populated mostly by outlandish creatures like iguanas and Galapagos, giant tortoises, not to mention the comical wavy albatross. In 1929, misanthropic Berlin dentist Friedrich Ritter and his mistress, Dora Strauch, ran off from their spouses to Floriana Island, the end of the world back then. They used the whaler's old post office barrel to send letters home by the rare passing ship. It was a big mistake for these loners because exaggerated news accounts of their farming Eden attracted Hans and Margaret Wittmer's family and another settler that everyone detested, self-styled Baroness Eloisa Virborn von Wagner-Bosquet. This nymphomaniac wacko showed up with 2 lovers, Philipson and Lorenzen, and ran around play-acting like a half-naked Marie Antoinette. The Baroness and Philipson beat and starved Lorenzen. Dora Strauch later wrote that Lorenzen teamed with Hans Wittmer to kill the crazy Baroness and Philipson, but bodies were never found, so it's still a mystery. Lorenzen, fleeing for the mainland, was marooned on an outer island and died of thirst. The lurid 1930s tragedy of sex and conflict was recorded in a flurry of books and a successful 2014 documentary film, The Galapagos Affair. It was another reason I just had to see the Galapagos, especially Floriana. The United States rented Baltra Island during World War II, building an air base to guard the Panama Canal. 2,700 GIs were stationed there, the most people the islands had ever seen. The Americans killed off Baltra's giant tortoises. Ecuador, a country of 16 million, that's the size of Nevada, and officially uses U.S. currency, has had modern-day environmental problems in the Galapagos. Demand in China for the local sea cucumbers and spiny lobsters led to violence in 2000 between Galapagos fishermen and conservationists at the Charles Darwin Research Station. Socialist President Rafael Correa, siding with environmentalists and tourism, has cracked down on overpopulation and on illegal immigration from mainland Ecuador. I took the 2-hour flight out from Guayaquil. The plane was loaded with touristas keen to walk in Darwin's godless footsteps. More than 200,000 visitors a year come to the Galapagos, so popular that a National Geographic cruise was a sweepstakes prize on Jeopardy! For the 32,000 residents allowed to live on only 4 islands, tourism supports 40% of the jobs. It's a 5-minute bus ride from the Baltra airport to the cruise ship dock. I was booked for 5 days on the Santa Cruz. Its 90-passenger capacity, just below the 100-passenger Galapagos limit. I instantly resolved to impress a bright young guide named Vicky. The Santa Cruz stood out in the channel, reached by inflatable boats called pangas. 237 feet long, built in Spain, she looked nice enough. I even got a welcome from the affable captain.
There is a saying among the seafarers, the hardest cargo to deal with is the human cargo, that is tourists.
El Capitan did have a lot of what we touristas needed. My bed was a queen and the food was good. There was what they called a jacuzzi, but the Wi-Fi was not working. I felt helpless without the internet and Fox News, and I could not understand why they would not let me bring my hunting rifle. Captain Nera had his work cut out to satisfy me, but with a crew of 60 for our 81 travelers, he was prepared for cranky pasajeros.
It's a constant challenge to get our guests to be satisfied at the end of the cruise. Not only for touring around, it's an expedition cruise. So there is a lot of things involved.
Passengers were assigned to 6 expedition groups, from albatrosses to gulls. Each group had a government-certified naturalist guide. Life jackets on, we awaited the pangas and our first adventure ashore. My first chance to disprove Darwin on his home turf. We made for dry North Seymour Island. What luck that I was one of Vicky's frigate birds and not a booby. Vicky was so environment-oriented, her earrings were sea turtle. With 97% of the Galapagos protected lands, animals are so nonchalant that a sea lion pup came up and sniffed my hiking boot. The land iguanas could care less how close I got. A male frigate bird was puffing out his heart-shaped throat sac to attract a female. Boy, I wished I could do that. I saw only one frigate species, not a bunch of different missing links in the process of evolving. T-shirts for sale reminded me that redneck culture is everywhere. Like Hooters is really talking about owls, the T-shirts are really celebrating the famous blue-footed boobies of North Seymour. Inevitably, Vicky was going to plague me with the conventional wisdom of the academic establishment.
Russell Wallace with Darwin together, they published the theory of evolution by natural selection. What that means? The strongest survives in a new environment. This species of plant or animal has something special, a special trait or characteristic good for that environment. It is an advantage in that environment. In this case, Galapagos Islands.
I quickly recorded my reaction for a Fox News special I'm working on.
Come on, I never heard such blue-footed booby guano in my life. It's only a theory, evolution. As a scientist, I know an intelligent design out here when I see one. That pretty guide we have, Vicky, just give that gal a Bible. It establishes that the Lord created the earth in 6 days. Though that happened 5,000 years ago, it's still the gospel truth today.
Later, the captain told me why everybody, evolution skeptic or believer, should come to the Galapagos.
Nowhere else you would find animals so tame and so close to you. It's a unique place.
While others were mooning over the mid-Pacific sunset, I was pondering how I could get Vicky to like me despite my oppressed minority viewpoint. While we slept, the Santa Cruz made the overnight run to Vicente Roca Point on the 100-mile-long big island of Isabela and its chain of 5 volcanoes, one 5,600 feet high. The trip was so smooth, I didn't even feel the bump when we crossed the equator. On cliffs coated with centuries of guano, the planet's only tropical penguins preen practically on the equator. Ocean currents are cold enough to support these little gray cuties. And then there were the marine iguanas, the only swimming iguanas anywhere. These reptiles look like leftover dinosaurs. This here's another kind of booby, a Nazca booby. This here's a Galapagos hawk, a leading predator. Flightless cormorants, unique to the Galapagos. They have so much food in the ocean, they don't need their shriveled wings. Evolution? Made me wonder. In a sea cave, we spotted Galapagos sea turtles. Back aboard, time to get our gear ready for deep water snorkeling off the point. I was not experienced enough to try it here, but others had success. Just down the strait and across to Fernandina, the youngest and still growing island where the active volcano erupted in 2009. On Punta Espinosa live thousands of marine iguanas, huddling together to warm their cold reptile blood. It was hard not to step on them. Intelligent design? I was beginning to have my doubts about that. Why would God have designed these suckers so blamed ugly? Female marine iguanas fight a lot over territory. Nests in the sand to lay their eggs. Look like survival of the fittest to me. My favorites, the sea lions. They're sea mammals. Very few land mammals, namely a few mice called rice mice, ever floated across from mainland South America. And it's the reptiles who generally rule in the Galapagos. On the rocks, Sally Lightfoot crabs, named for a 19th century dancer. Crossing back over to Isabella, we panga to Tagus Cove, where whalers harbored and where the graffiti were finally banned in 1998. A stiff hike uphill brought us coastal views and lava flows from the Alcedo volcano. Vicky described the parched flora and fauna waiting for the rainy season. The birders got to see one of the many Galapagos species called a Darwin's finch. Of course, it's a hoot that just about everything around here is named for Darwin. The different mockingbirds influenced Charlie's evolution thinking, too.
Finches, mockingbirds, they were the base of the theory of evolution. After the diversification process from a common ancestor, now there are 13 types of finches and 4 types of mockingbirds, depending on the food availability and the natural conditions.
South a short ways to Urbina Bay and another hike. What was the origin of feces? Why, in this case it was our first giant tortoises, vacationing from the Alcedo volcano slopes and with mixed feelings about us. Around to Santa Cruz, the most populous island with 20,000 people. The government made us stop off in Puerto Ayora so we could go shopping for the usual tacky tchotchkes. Why should the cruise ships hog all the money? Santa Cruz, headquarters of the national park that makes up most of the islands, is a lush green island, more like Hawaii. Scientists, like me, from around the world work here at the Charles Darwin Research Station, guardian of Galapagos conservation. Here the famous Lonesome George, last of Pinta Island's long-necked giant tortoises, died in 2012 at age 170. Here's his pool and the new star, Super Diego, 170 plus from Espanola Island. George is being stuffed in New York and will return here for display. The Darwin Station breeds and raises baby tortoises and places them on their species' native islands at age 4. While they wait, these captive boys, segregated by gender, are engaging in a little grunting same-sex marriage. If there ever was evolution, it did not happen this way. Up in the Santa Cruz highlands, native giant tortoises are free to roam and munch. By now, Vicky's persuasive lectures were making me go native too. I seemed to be yielding to the evolutionary spirit of the Galapagos. Back aboard and fortified by pina coladas, I was just going with the flow, dumping my anti-Darwin scholarship and enjoying the entertainment. El Capitan was loosening up too, rocking with Lupita, the Santa Cruz's purser, and a granddaughter of the ship's owner, I was told. At last, the green hills of mysterious Floriana. We hit shore where those old German settlers did at Post Office Bay. Here we carried on the tradition of dropping our postcards in the barrel and picking up some we would deliver back home. Off the beach, my snorkeling was the usual fruitless disaster, but later I could watch my friends brave the 14-foot jump overboard. Off nearby Champion Islet was some of the best snorkeling of the cruise. Not that I dare do any snorkeling in these rough waters. Instead, I cravenly took the glass-bottomed boat, tossing about and nearly getting seasick as I managed to spot a few tropical surgeon fish. By this point, I had thrown in the towel, just about convinced, though maybe blinded by Vicky's charm, that if I were ever going to debunk evolution, it sure would not be because of the Galapagos.
Let's sing all together the sea lion blues. You just kick off your shoes, cause there is nothing to lose. Through the sea lion blues. Now everybody.
I'm going home now, and I'm going to tell Fox News that my views on evolution have evolved. I'd believe anything Vicky says, and she showed me that eons of change in the Galapagos on the separate islands changed God's original creatures. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the most responsive to change. Who said that? Good old Charlie Darwin, my new intellectual hero. And I'm going to be responsive to change, too.
Let's go, Frida.